in praying for this, I've known about a month, I guess, that I was going to do this, and my dad always says that it's not about getting more information, but it's about having revelation to your heart. And I don't think I understood that till it started happening, One story I've been reading, I've been parking in the Gospels lately, is the story of the woman with the issue of blood, and I'm going to read that in a minute, but God is so kind to take those things we've heard and read so many times and just illuminate them in our heart and show us something so different about it. And every time Jesus encountered anyone in the Gospels, he left them completely changed. And one story, like I said, is that gospel story. It's told in Mark, Luke, and in Matthew, but I'm going to read it out of Mark 5:25 through 34. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had, yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Immediately, her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. At once, Jesus realized that the power had gone from him. He turned around in the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" I think he knew this was about her. You see, the people crowding against you, his disciples answered, and yet you asked, "Who touched me?" But Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. Then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at his feet, and trembling with fear, told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." First, she had a condition that made her so isolated and ashamed. And especially in that culture at that time, if you're bleeding, nobody can touch you. Nobody can touch anything you touch. There's rituals and time that has to pass. 12 years of complete isolation and feeling that. The first thing she had to do is she had to have faith that Jesus could heal her, that he alone was the answer. So first she approached. So we have to first approach him. That's our part. But even though her body was instantly healed, it didn't stop there. Verse 30, Jesus immediately stopped. He knew that someone was healed by touching him. But knowing it wasn't complete, he cares enough to really see us. It's not just that healing. He sees to the innermost parts of us. Her healing wasn't complete. He was giving her the opportunity to get all of her healing. I think sometimes, we come to know Jesus, we get saved, we get our foot in the door, or we've been given a piece of some freedom, but whatever it is that gets in our way, we feel we're not worthy, or we have this thing that we don't, we have shame in it, and we keep it. We don't let him in that room. But he knew that it wasn't done. Verse 33, then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at his feet, and trembling with fear, told him the whole truth. He wants us to meet with him. He wants us to give him all of our gross for all of his goodness. We get it all. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you." She was already healed before that, y'all. Her body was already healed, but he knew there was something else. "Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." He gave her peace. He not only healed her body, but he saw her need for healing in her inmost parts. Her soul needed him. She was free. Jesus never leaves us the same. When he died, he traded 100%, all of his worthiness and righteousness, for 100% of our mess. He bought it. It's not ours anymore. We have full inheritance of all that he is. So he doesn't want us to stop. He doesn't want us to say, it's good enough, I believe it for others. He wants us to come and he wants to take it all. Something that also hit me, I was singing Amazing Grace the other day. No, I'm going to read this first. 2 Corinthians 5:21. For God made Christ, who never sinned, to be the offering for our sin, so that we could be made right with God through Christ. So we are made righteous. When I was looking at Amazing Grace and just singing it, it is good theology. But I think we stay on the wretch part sometimes. Like we hold that like, oh, we don't get past it. We were a wretch, but we have to remember we once were lost, but now we're found. We are no longer blind. We can see through the fullness of his sacrifice and see our true identity. So, chosen, adopted, redeemed, complete in him, and daughters of the Most High. So I just want to encourage you guys that he's not done. He's not done. There's so much more that he wants to do, and don't hold back because he sees it all.